So if we're being honest, what episode 10 of Train to the End of the World just did, most anime wouldn't be able to do. And let's be honest, that is facts. This show since episode 1 has been a WTF. And as the weeks have gone on, it's progressively made you say that more and more. But an episode that can be broke down to, as one of our MCs discovers her long-lost father who went to get milk and never returned, and unlike your father, she found her father, but really, it highlights why maybe finding them isn't the best thing because they somehow become a weirder abomination. Granted, most of that's most likely just due to Yoka, but the point stands, it was not the family reunion they were expecting. I mean, that man did not want to go home to his wife, and divorce is probably on the horizon, let's be honest. Okay, that's not the craziest thing, of course. But it is weird, you don't see that in your average anime. And then, they crank it up a notch. And by crank it up a notch, whatever limiter this show had was smashed to smithereens. And we go into this beret-wearing fanatic group, where they turn each of the characters into a different generic anime art style, and they have a battle of art, as then we take the power for us, and between one of them making them into a BL story, aka boys love, and the nonsense that comes with it, we repair a crater, and we're just a little stop away from Ikebukuro. And somehow, it was coherent. If they manage the next two episodes to not feel like a jumbled mess, but rather a well thought out and executed story, good or bad ending, world saved, world destroyed, doesn't matter, as long as it makes sense and feels right, this might be the hardest show to top for WTF in the next decade. Because this show is a roller coaster, and it is snappy. They just continuously do and throw things at you, but it doesn't feel like they're just throwing things and hoping a few stick. They all stick, and I don't know how, but this show is probably going to be the hidden gem of this entire year, if we're being honest. Full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full link of thought to this or any of these what the hell am I watching episodes. It's going to be over there exclusively. So, this is wild in all the best ways. And what I'm realizing now, and I'm not sure if anyone remembers this anime. Does anyone remember the anime Moyoiga? It was a while back, like 6-8 years ago, something like that. Most people hated that show, mind you. It was a WTF that just threw shit. The debate is, was it purposely made bad on purpose, or was it just so bad that some people enjoyed it? Like, that's the type of show it was. And what I'm realizing, getting closer to the end of this show, is Train to the End of the World actually reminds me of Moyoiga, but rather than it feeling like that show, which is argued didn't even have a structure, this one actually does. Because a lot of the weirdness and just how many insane ideas are being thrown at Train to the End of the World, that show also had. But unlike that show, this one actually has structure. And that's weird because very few anime try to go as crazy as this one does. And usually when it does is what happens when I said in like episode 2 or 3. Either this would be the best show of the season or the worst show. Because when you try to go as crazy as this show is, once you trip, it's hard to get back up and a snowball effect of chaos happens and you more or less watch a train wreck, no pun intended. And this show, we are 10 out of 12. And they probably are going to stick the landing. I do think it probably should have been 13 episodes. Now that's just my gut impression based on how the pacing is. But with how snappy the show is, they probably actually only need 2 episodes, so maybe it's just me being greedy, but time will tell. And I'm still baffled because for all the ideas they're throwing, they somehow make this show work. And it doesn't feel like a mess in the slightest. They've managed to give each of the girls a story arc of some sort, and we got to learn about them a bit more on a personality level. Yoka and everything about the falling out of friendship and becoming a cultist queen, on top of all of the wacky and wild ideas that they continuously throw your way. It both functions as like an episodic adventure show, with all these adventures of the week, while simultaneously building an actual narrative all at the same time. and it actually doesn't feel like a jumbled mess. The show in its entirety is most shows couldn't do what this show did. But an episode specifically like this, with the double whammy of, are they stuffed animals now? Like, what the hell? And she's like, Daddy? And it's like, oh yeah, wrong person. No, I am your dad. I sent your mom letters. Still out. Later, bitch. That's pretty much how that letter read. I'm still out, I'll be a bit. It's been like 2 years, and he just get a divorce at that point, bro. Though I do have to question, she might have killed her dad in a way, because, she's forcing the dad to go back home because she's like, hey, you don't know how much more time you have before you're not even going to be able to talk anymore. You're gonna die, bro. So go back home. By like the 3rd episode or whatever, the train tracks were destroyed. Are they gonna swim? Will they find a boat? Like, how are they actually gonna get home? I don't know. Call me crazy, but wouldn't it have been better to take your family members and his companions with you to Ikebukuro, save the day, and then go back home? That's just me anyway, but what do I know? I'm not the one with magical berets that can do craziness. I honestly thought they were gonna have to use those to like repair it, and they're gonna like draw it or something. Apparently, once you cancel your subscription service to the Magical Beret Club, everything goes back to normal. Imagine saying that sentence to someone who hasn't watched this show yet. They're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, they got a Netflix subscription to magical powers, and, why not? This show is anime of the season. 100%. The next 2 episodes could be the most god-awful thing I've ever experienced, and the level of creativity I've seen over these 10 episodes deserve nothing but that praise. The amount of enjoyment I have at just witnessing the WTF, but then also being able to theorycraft in such a fun way that you don't get to do often. I mean, whenever you theorycraft online, 95% of the time, that show has a source material, meaning it can be difficult to theorycraft because you're going to have some source reader snob come in and, actually, you're examining this incorrectly, you should have, and it's like, fuck off. Like, there's no other way to put it, bro. It's like, let people have their fun the same way you did when you read your damn book. But a show with no source material, it's impossible to have that. Sure, you'll have the people say you're crazy. I had exactly that when I said Yoka was behind everything. But the thing is no one can prove you wrong until the show's over. And if you do manage to get it right, and they're still able to find new ways to shock you, that's how you know you have something that's actually creative. Because a lot of people wrote this show off as just gonna be a show that tries to overwhelm you with weirdness, but doesn't have like a coherent plan or anything. But this show does. It is snappy and fast-paced. It is. But it's done so purposely, like trying to overwhelm you. And whether or not that works for you is obviously going to be a preference, of course. But, like, this show is a 10 out of 10. This is the most 10 out of 10 show of this season, if we're being honest. The visual shifts, the characterization, everything is just so good. There's still a couple shows I personally enjoy watching more than this, but I can admit this is the best anime of the season from my point of view, and I will be very, very sad when it's over. And honestly, whoever was the original creator of this show, the main idea guy or girl, give them unlimited funds for whatever the hell they want to make next, bro, because they are a mad person, and I respect them. They're questionable, but I respect them. But that's all from me. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, and what do you hope to see of the last couple of episodes down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Blue Summer, Rods Vermullins, Diedrich Savon, Davlin, Kieran Dean, Draco Burns, and typical viewers. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.